Look at my dad real quick. We did it, baby. We did it. I love you. It's amazing. It's amazing. I gotta go. I love you.
Smoking to Joe Burrow. You really blunt this week.
Each of us has our own unique background and story of how we became a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
Our reach is far and wide, with fans all over the world cheering on our Kansas City Chiefs.
Everyone donning the red and gold has figuratively signed that mutual agreement and come together for one common purpose.
For 76,000 of us at a time, to descend upon Arrowhead, man our stations, let out our loudest battle cry to the tune of 142.2 decibels, and make that stadium rock until our opponents beg for mercy.
We are unrelenting in our pride for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the Allies, Arrowhead Allies.
Welcome to Arrowhead Allies, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Kansas City Chiefs, freaks worldwide of all ages. We have a very, very special guest today, none other than the one and the only Patrick LeVon Mahomes the first. Let's all give it up.
Hey. Thank y'all for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
Man,
Thank you so much for joining us.
brought back some memories there in the intro. Pat, it's great to have you. Silky P on Instagram. Hit him up. Follow him right now. You're amongst friends, Pat. This is a cool deal we got going here with these Arrowhead Allies. Welcome. You are now an official ally. Welcome to the show, sir.
I can't wait to be a part of the club, man. I've been knowing your boy Shaggy for a long time, Nitro. So I'm just getting ready for football season, getting ready to get this thing going. I see B shining up there. See all y'all getting ready to do some things. So let's get this thing cranking.
Hey, let me kick it out, Mr. Mahomes. Did you all give Patrick Cambodian breast milk growing up? What superpowers did y'all instill in this man for him to be the man who he is today?
Well, I just think it's in the DNA, Johnny Mahomes, which was my father, he passed a little bit down to me, and then, I passed a little bit down to Patrick, and hopefully he's going to pass some down to Bron so we can make this thing keep on rolling.
Hey, Pat, you've spent a lot of time on the Shaggy Shane Kansas City Chiefs show at Arrowhead throughout the years, going all the way back to Patrick's rookie season in 2017. And I can't thank you enough. We got a great crew at Arrowhead Allies. Like you just talked to Brian B. Shinen. He's the morning personality on Hot 103 Jams, KPRS. He interviews everybody from the Royals owner to the mayor to many guests. And he's got amazing personality, and he lays down the sweet tracks. And Michael Matthew, the gentleman, he's from Los Angeles, California. He works for TGN Sports. He's a Chiefs fan, but he covers the Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Rams, and he covers the Los Angeles Lakers. When you see him on pregame, he's covering the Lakers. So Michael Matthew, he's kind of a big deal. He gives us the inside scoop on the Chargers and the Rams. And, of course, Clinton Noah, they run the biggest Patrick Mahomes fan page on Facebook, and they started that as soon as Patrick Mahomes made his first start. Noah got out there. So when these gentlemen all asked me to join their group, the Arrowhead Allies via Starcade Media, I jumped on it. I said, this is something that has to be done. They're good people. They know their football. They know their sports, and we're thrilled to have you. Now, Pat, the question I have for you is, when it comes time to believe in what goes on in a player's heart, regardless of the circumstances that they had to endure to achieve their goals, you still believe in it. Let's go back to 15 months ago. when I was a guest on the Big Mahomes Show, you and I broke down the Kansas City Chiefs 2022 NFL Draft. We spent a lot of time talking about the draft picks, but we spent also a great deal of time about the signing of one wide receiver, Justin Ross. We spent time breaking down his potential as well as his injury and what he could be once he got better. And 15 months later, here we are. You know, he's making plays. He dealt with the foot injury. And I want to talk about something that you touched on with Linda Dorsey and Tanisha Mahomes on Two Gems and a Mic. Make sure and check out Two Gems and a Mic with the diva Tanisha Mahomes as well as Linda. You touched on it as well. You continue to talk about Justin Ross practicing with Patrick. You continue to talk about everything about his potential. I'm still excited about Justin Ross because of his potential and what we talked about that day. You know, I went ahead and created a Justin Ross fan page, and you and Clay Windler were the first 2 members to join. We're up to 1,600 now, and I can't thank you enough for believing in the kid going back 15 months. Now, what have you seen from what you know now, from what you touched on with Two Gems on a Mic and knowing that he's been practicing with Patrick all offseason? How do you feel about what you've seen of Justin Ross in the first 2 preseason games, Pat?
Well, what I see is a very explosive player. You know, a player that's is a great route runner, has an idea of what he's doing out there. I really thought he would have been great last year, you know, without the injury. Same thing. He'd have been a high draft pick if he wouldn't have had the serious injury in college. And I've seen him out working with Patrick. You know, Patrick throwing routes to him and watching the chemistry build and everything like that. And whenever Patrick starts to build chemistry with a guy, that normally, you know, leads to good things. Kind of like the same way he did with Travis. So I'm expecting very, very big things. I think he's going to be a breakout player this year. I think Sky Moore is going to be a great player this year. I think they have some weapons. I mean, people are sleeping on the Chiefs, talking about the receivers and everything. But one thing I've said about, you know, Patrick Mahomes, my son, since he came into the NFL, I mean, I remember having a conversation with Travis Kelce after the first game when Kelce caught like 3 passes for like 39 yards or something like that, and he was a little down. And I told him then, I said, I can tell you one thing about my son. It doesn't matter what number you got on your back. If you get open, he's going to get you the ball. And I see Justin Ross as a guy that's going to get open, and I think he's going to catch a lot of footballs this year.
Yeah, so Pat, man, my question for you, you know, seeing your son growing up, did you see any of that star quality with him, with his game? And, you know, would help, you know, how did you help him choose between baseball and football?
Well, you know, I saw a lot of star quality at a very, very young age. I just chose the wrong sport. You know, I thought he was going to be a baseball player. Stuff that he did at a young age was pretty amazing. Even being a professional athlete and being around athletes all my life, the stuff that he was doing at a very young age, I thought it was going to transfer into him being a baseball player. But once he took that field his junior year and he got to play the quarterback position, and he realized, you know, the stadium is packed and I'm in control and everybody's, you know, looking at me and I got to go out here and lead this team to a victory. It just all clicked for him. And so even up to draft day, after his senior year when he got drafted, well, he was going to get drafted way earlier, but when he turned down the money to go in between the first and second round as a sandwich pick for the Diamondbacks, that's when it finally clicked home. And, you know, I had to pause for a moment, and he had gotten his truck and left, and he was headed to Lubbock, and I called him on the phone, and I was like, hey, are you sure? And he said, yeah, I want to try this football thing out. So I'm like, all right, we'll turn around and come back. You know, I'm going to take you to the campus, and, you know, we'll talk about it on the way there. So we drove 7 hours up to Lubbock, and, you know, and I questioned him a lot about a lot of stuff that he was going on and what he thought his expectations were going to be and everything. And I'm like, I just didn't really know if the stuff that he was doing was going to translate to the next level. He was doing the left-handed throws. He was doing the no-look throws. He was doing the scrambling around and backyard football. And I just didn't know if that would translate, to the next level. Because being a quarterback, I was an all-state quarterback myself in high school, and got recruited to play college football and all that. And I took a few visits and whatever. But I didn't like to get hit, so I knew that was never going to be an option for me. But for him, I'm like, I know you right now. I know you can play in the big leagues, but this football stuff, I don't know where this is going to go. And once we decided that was the route we were going to take, I just got behind him and I was like, I'm going to be at every game. I'm going to be there and support you. And however this thing ends, it ends. And the best thing about the whole situation is you made your decision. I didn't make that decision for you. So if this thing doesn't work out, you have nobody to blame but yourself. You took a shot. You tried to do something that you thought you could do it. If it doesn't work out, then I think you can be happy with it.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Mahomes, hey, may I have this dance?
Yeah.
Mr. Mahomes, with speaking of Patrick growing up and raising him, I wanted to know, like, with him having one of the biggest platforms in sports, and black athletes need that. Black athletes need people like Patrick to speak up like he did in 2020 for black issues and for black people. I want you to explain and talk about how you and the Mahomes family grew up with Patrick and how y'all instilled his culture within him.
Well, I mean, he was able to see both sides, because his mother's white, I'm black. He loves my father, Johnny, like no other. I mean, Johnny, as soon as he was born, Johnny was in a bad spot. We didn't know if he was going to make it. And the one thing he would always say was, if I can make it to see my grandson, then, I'll be good. And then it seems like soon as Patrick came, everything turned around and he started going the other way. And yet, 27 years later, he's as strong as ever and doing everything. So he saw that side and he saw the other side of his family. And all we tried to distill in him was to be respectful to everybody that he came across. Look him in the eye, talk to him, look him in the eye, be straightforward, tell the truth and whatever. And he kind of took that and ran with it. So early on, when those issues that were starting to hit head and come up, the kneeling stuff, for the national anthem and stuff like that, he would call me and say, Dad, I want to, do what I'm supposed to do, but I don't think I should kneel or whatever. I think I should stand for the anthem and this and that. And I'm like, son, you got to make your own decision. You can't let nobody else make your decision for you. Whatever decision you make, I'm going to stand by it. And so he chose to stand and do that. He chose to talk about the issues with, the people that were getting killed or whatever, and those situations and all that. And I just kind of let him go with it. Make your own stance. Just whatever you're going to do, be 100% behind it and stay with it. And anything else we can deal with. So he's always done that. He's always been a stand-up type of guy. The only thing I ever really asked him about this whole situation with not only the Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff, I asked him when he come out for the draft, was he ready to lead grown men? And he told me, he said, what does that mean? I said, well, if Michael Irvin comes back to the huddle and he goes, hey, I got a wife and kids to feed, you got to give me the football. What are you going to say? And what he told me was, he said, I'll tell him, well, if you get open, I'll get you the football. Other than that, just run your route. So once he said that to me, I knew he was ready to lead grown man. And he's taken that into every aspect of his life, as far as if he believes in something, he's gonna stand up and he's not gonna do it. So he's always been a stand-up type of guy. So that's probably the proudest thing about him that I enjoy.
Yeah, Pat, I wanted to ask you kind of about his competitive fire. We all saw the Netflix series, kind of got to take us behind the scenes. But where did his competitive fire come from? Was that growing up with you in the majors, him around in the locker room? And also, did you have a problem with Eric Bieniemy calling him a competitive prick?
No, not a problem at all with Eric calling him a competitive prick, because that was probably spot on. Honestly, Nitro, the quarterback series kind of surprised me.
Really?
Because that was one of the biggest bugaboos I had with Patrick growing up. I would always think that he would always just conform to what everybody else was doing. I wanted to see that fire that I saw in the quarterbacks. I didn't even know he did all that. I didn't know he talked that way. I didn't know he felt that way.
We love it, Mr. Mahomes. We love it. I'm gonna tell you, I loved it, man. I embellished it.
So when I saw that, it kind of took me by surprise. And it came right on, episode 1 when him and Crosby, and then he was saying what he said, and we know the words what he said. You wrong, effort, and I'm like, okay, now you're acting like your daddy. That's the way I do it when I play. I don't know. I know where he got it from, but I had never seen that before.
Oh, speaking of acting like his daddy, please talk to me about Silky P. Please, I need to know the story on Silky P. Let it go.
Silky P is kind of a name I got from playing basketball. I was Mr. Basketball in the state of Texas my senior year, and one of the old heads, as we call them, old heads guys, just come to the games and stuff, and throw a little change down on who's going to win the game and everything. And so they called me Silky P because they said every time I shot, it didn't hit nothing but the silk at the bottom of the net. So Silky P 23 kind of, made his name. And then I was number 23. So I just kind of ran with it and stayed with it. You're given nicknames. You don't make them if you're a real player. So, players make plays, and Silver P23 put in his share of work back in the day.
Well, Pat,
do you like
obviously?
No, go ahead, Clint. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It was just a follow-up question. I was just gonna ask him, did he like the group Silk?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You gotta. Hey, Mr. Mahomes.
I used to get freaky with him, get freaky with me.
Mr. Mahomes, you got to come to the White Linen Party. They performing in Kansas City at our White Linen Party. Come on, man. I got you.
Well, all you got to do is hook me up with the dates, and, we'll be there.
September 3rd. I got you.
I might even bring the wifey. She might even come.
Come on, man. It's at Power and Light District. I got you.
Hey, Pat, the Royals are talking about moving, and they are going to move. They're looking at options of moving out to other areas of Kansas City. And, Pat, you and I are the same age. We know our stadiums. You got to see the Rangers play, and I watched the Rangers play back when I was a kid. And you remember when their stadium got torn down and they went to the stadium in 1994. From 1994 through 2019, the Texas Rangers only played at that new stadium, which was beautiful, for 25 seasons. There's a lot of talk now that with the Royals leaving, that the Chiefs very well might leave. And that's an emotional tug, not only for me, but everything that Arrowhead has become, everything that Arrowhead has been the last 50, going on one seasons now. My question for you, it's kind of a 2-point question. Would you be surprised to see Arrowhead leave when their lease is up in 10 years or 8 years? And why did the Rangers dismiss that stadium after only 25 years?
Well, I think we have two different dynamics here. The Rangers, when they went from the old ballpark to the ballpark in Arlington, I think it was pretty much the passing of all the old stadiums. I was fortunate enough to get to the big leagues at a very young age, and I played in the old Detroit, old Tiger Stadium. I played in Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. I played in in Cleveland Stadium and all that. And then I was fortunate enough to play in all the new ones as they were getting built, and saw that. The Ranger Stadium is kind of got outdated. It kind of got outdated, and it had to do something different. Now with this new thing, this new stadium that they got, which I have only stepped foot in one time, and that was for my youth baseball team. I had a couple of them make an all-star team there, and they played there at Globe Life. I think that was a situation where the weather is so hot here in Texas that it makes it hard to have an outside stadium, and for them to have a stadium with a roof where they can climatize it and make it better, it makes sense. Now, as far as Arrowhead and all that, I would hate to see a situation where they did move. It's going to be the same there regardless, because you get all the seasons there at Arrowhead. So you got summer, and then you got when we get in the playoffs and it's freezing cold, but that's to the Chiefs' advantage, and I like that. Kaufman Stadium has always been one of my favorite stadiums to ever play when I was in the big leagues. So that would be tough. That would be tough for me too, for them to move. But you know how it is now. Everything has to be bigger and better, and the bigger and the better is, the more revenue you bring in. So I would hate to see them, either one of them, leave where they're at, because there's so much history and so much background and relevance there. But in the other hand, I can't understand, because if you're in the business, you're trying to make money.
Right.
Facts.
Silky P, I'm not sure if you're on social media, Twitter, Instagram, but there's a lot of beef going on between a lot of fans when it comes to Chiefs Kingdom, especially the Cincinnati Bengals. So, like, you and your family, do you guys hear about any of that? Does it get back to Pat? And you have to tell us, how was it smoking on that Joe Burrow, man?
Smoking on that Joe Burrow.
Well, it gets back. It definitely gets back, and being a former athlete, I was always one, to always clap back, and whenever, beef was on, that made me better. That made me want to be better than what I thought I was. I remember the first year Patrick was playing, and we went to Foxborough, and we were playing the Patriots, and we were undefeated. And Patrick was sitting on the sideline. He was talking to me and my son Graham, and I remember Tom Brady coming out for pregame warmups, and he was jumping and bouncing, and he's yelling some words that we can't say on this podcast and stuff like that. And
yes, you can. It's internet.
So I'm looking. He's like, "I'm still the man, MFer, blah 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 blah, and blah blah." And I'm like, Patrick, hey, turn around, say something back to that motherfucker.
Yes, sir.
And he's like, no. I'm like, well, the era I grew up in baseball, that was just part of it. That's just what we did. So, to hear all the hype about the Barrowhead, and then it really pissed me off when the mayor said what he said,
man,
his daddy knowing I'm his daddy and all that.
Yeah.
And, so I had called Patrick earlier that week, and I told him, I said, hey, you better be on top of your game. I'm bringing some damn cigars. And then as soon as that game over, after we beat him, you're going to light up and you're going to smoke your cigar and talk some shit back to him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It got to the point where I think I had a few too many cocktails up in the street, with that nerve-wracking game. And then next thing I know, my daughter-in-law was telling me to light that shit up, and I started trying to light it with a Bic. I didn't even have my flame.
Yes, Brittany. Yes.
And so then I get downstairs, and old boy jumps out at me and asks me what I was smoking on. So then after that, it was just off the top of the head and talking shit and smoking. So.
Shouts to Aaron Ladd for that question. Yeah, my boy Aaron Ladd, KSHB 41.
Yeah, it was a hell of a question. He caught me at the right time.
That's what it's all about. And I've got to go kind of a little bit in the way back machine here, Pat. Last offseason, Chiefs get rid of Tyreek Hill, and I had to know kind of your initial thoughts on the most dynamic, explosive weapon on the offensive side, other than your son, a skill player, Tyreek Hill, being traded away, and your initial thoughts to hearing that.
Love Reek. I was very shocked, stunned. Patrick was keeping me abreast the whole time during the situation, which he normally does with moves they make, you know, during the off season and moves they're going to make and stuff like that. I knew that it was a big loss, but I wasn't worried in the fact that I knew that it was gonna make him a different quarterback. He was just gonna spread the ball around a little bit more, and I knew they could be successful as long as they played, you know, decent defense. I mean, it doesn't have to be great. If they're playing decent defense, he's gonna move the sticks. He's gonna put points on the board. So it's just a matter of, can we score more than the other team? And I had a good feeling that we could, as long as, you know, Kels is there. We brought in Juju, we brought in MBS and some other guys. So I knew he was going to have some weapons, so I wasn't worried that much. I was just, you know, it's a big difference when you got a guy that could take the top off like Tyreek could, who could take a 10-yard play and go 60, 70 yards with it. But I knew he was still going to, you know, make some plays. I just knew it was going to be a little different.
Okay. Pat, you know, life is all about seizing opportunities and going on that journey. You've been on one now here in Kansas City, being a part of the Kansas City community, people embracing you, your whole family, Patrick and Brittany, the two kids, Sterling and Bronze now, of course. I mean, just talk about how your life has changed since this all happened. And you know, all of a sudden your son's playing college football at Texas Tech. The Kansas City Chiefs trade up to number 10 to get Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 draft. And all of a sudden you're along for this ride too. And you've been a part of this community. People have embraced you and just what your life has been like over the past 5 years.
Well, I mean, first of all, number one, my career never existed, you know.
No.
I used to always use the line that I'm Googleable. And now they always say, you know, everybody comes up to me and they said, "Are you Patrick's dad?" And I said, "Well, you know, that's what his mama said." I said, "We did the work, so it's a possibility that I could be." So I lost my name, but yeah, I became an even prouder father. You know, I planned Patrick from the beginning. I was hoping he was going to be a great athlete, and it's always a pleasure to raise a good young man, a kid that isn't like everybody else. Not so much about his athletic ability and all that stuff, but the way he treats people and the way he goes about his business is probably the thing that I'm most proud of. And it's been a crazy ride, man. I always thought he was going to be a star. I just never in my mind envisioned that it would happen as quickly as it happened.
Mr. Mahomes. Oh, go ahead, Pat, Shaggy.
You got it, Shaggy.
You know, we believe in Patrick. My daughter got me this mug 5 days before his first NFL start. She got it for Christmas. And I dealt with a lot of flack. You're like, dude, why would your daughter buy you a number one Mahomes mug for Christmas when he hasn't even played a game? He could be a bust. But we believed in him. I believed in him. And I looked at those people that doubted me and I say, I'm good. I'm good. I wear it well. And it's an awesome honor to be a number one Mahomes. My question to you about the Chiefs team is that they are young. Patrick's going to be 28 in 3 weeks. And we had a chance to interview Wanya Morris, the Chiefs' third-round draft pick here on Arrowhead Allies. And in May, Noah and I had a chance to interview Isaiah Pacheco, and he's a good young kid. What do you think about the youth on the Kansas City Chiefs team? You know, Patrick's about to be 28. What do you think about the fact that there's so much youth that's carrying this team, Pat?
It's exciting, man. I mean, Brett Veach is doing a hell of a job every year with that draft and with free agents and with undrafted free agents. And actually, Brett Veach was probably the first guy that I met from Kansas City doing Patrick's pro day and some of the other stuff. And I knew he was all in on Patrick, and I knew Patrick had a good chance to get there. But to see, these young guys come up and grasp the system so quickly and just fit in and act like they belong there is a great sign. I mean, people ask, is it a dynasty or is it going to be a dynasty or whatever? All I can say is that they're on the right path right now. They're bringing in young and new talent. They're not overspending, for guys. They're not like the Yankees. They're not trying to buy a championship. They're letting guys come up and develop. And everybody knows I'm in the youth development space myself with baseball, and it's always been a passion of mine to develop kids so they can have a chance to be great. And that's what I think the Chiefs organization is doing. They're giving guys a chance to be great, and they're trusting in them. And when you got a head coach that will let you be yourself, let you go out and play your game, then the results are always going to be positive. They're always going to be positive. You're going to make your mistakes. We've had guys make their mistakes and had to readjust and do some different things. But as long as you let a guy be himself and he go out and play the game that he can play. One thing about it is the worst player on an NFL team is better than you could even imagine, because how hard it is to get there is unbelievable. And the work it takes to stay there is even more impressive. And seeing these young guys go out and blossom and become their own and make their own identity is just such a beautiful thing.
Hey, Mr. Mahomes, I gotta ask this question. I gotta squeeze this in. You shared a big Leo energy with me and my dog Michael right here on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? 3 lions in a room. But with that, with family, I know we are really emotional and we are really close to our families. With that being said, I played this clip on my morning show, The Morning Grind on High 103 Jams. The clip at the end of Super Bowl 54, when you embraced Patrick, when you first saw him walk off the field, with the confetti falling down, and you were overcome with emotion. If you could, man, could you please share and tap into that? And I know you just got through talking about raising Patrick and being a father, but please, man, share what emotionally you were going through, just specifically in that moment.
Well, now I've got to have that moment 3 times already. So, my buddies back home, they give me hell about it. They says my crying ugly face. So the
It was
first
beautiful.
The first moment was draft day, when he got drafted by the Chiefs, and realizing that all the hard work and sacrifice that he had put in had come to fruition, and that he was going to get a chance to live his dream to play in the NFL. And that was a pretty ugly face. I get that picture sent to me about twice, twice a year, people laughing at it. The second one, the moment you're talking about, was realizing that he had attained that goal of being a Super Bowl champion. And it was just crazy. Me and LaTroy Hawkins was in the stands when the comeback was happening. And I remember him turning to me and he's going, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to win this thing. And him finally winning it, it just all hit at one time. And then last year, after losing the Super Bowl, coming back and, with so many doubters and so many detractors and people saying that he wasn't going to be able to do it, and to get it done there, and with the ankle injury and gutting through it, because I know about injuries and his pain tolerance is way higher than mine. And for him to, gut it out and get that victory, I just had to tell him, man, I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, he was just different to me. I mean, and that's what I told him. I said, you're different. I've never seen anything like you. And it wasn't because he was my son. It was just like, I compete. We all compete at the highest level of whatever we're doing, whether it be a podcast, whether it be whatever. We're going to compete to be the best at whatever we can do. But to grind through that type of stuff and do what you need to do to be able to get out on the field, and then to go out there and succeed. It's just such a beautiful thing, and I know what it meant to him, and especially with his daughter being there for the first time, his son being born at that part of the season, even though neither one of them will probably ever remember it. It just was something to see, and I was just glad to say that I was his father.
And I wanted to
go ahead.
You got and so Pat, I wanted to talk about, just the dynamic of fatherhood when it comes to you, from your son being your baby boy, growing up to be the superstar player that he is. We all saw, LeVar Ball and everything that, people were trying to scrutinize him on the type of father he loved. But you show that same type of love and passion towards your boys. I want you to talk about that, just seeing him growing from that baby boy to this superstar player. And then with you both of you guys being very competitive, you talked about you being Silky P because of the basketball court. We all know that Pat can get on the court and do some things. Who has won the last shootout between you two?
Well, I mean, basketball, I still spank that ass.
Yes, sir.
Football,
yes, sir.
Football. I'm going to give him the nod. Baseball, I was better. Golf, I used to whoop his ass all the time, but now the last 10 or 12 matches, he's been tearing my ass up. But as Shaggy will attest to, it's his time. You know what I mean? It's his time, and that's why, I'll do shows with Shaggy. I'll do shows with you guys. I'll do shows with other people, but I never ever want to take the shine off him because I think he's earned that shine, and I don't want to be the fact. Yeah, his daddy played professional sports, but that has nothing to do with how he became who he is. I mean, without all the hard work, going to the baseball stadium, seeing how professional athletes, worked, what they did to be successful, and one thing that is really, I think, undervalued is what Alex Smith did with him in the year that he had him. In the year that he said, "Hey, I'm gonna be at the field at 5:30. If you want to join, you can join." And teaching him how to be a professional, teaching him how a professional quarterback rolls, is one of the things that I think is underappreciated. And I think Alex and myself personally, before the season, after the season, telling him how much I appreciated, what he had done. So with me, there's been, it takes a village, to make it, and he's had a lot of good coaches, a lot of good folks in his life that have been very instrumental in making him the player that he is. And he's taken what he can from each one and used it to the best of his knowledge. And, some things you have to weed out, some things you don't. But I think he's doing a great job of, just being himself and listening and taking in what he can.
Last thing here, Pat, before we get you out of here, we can't thank you enough. You've been so gracious with your time here tonight on our Arrowhead Allies program. We weren't going to ask this, all five of us, we weren't going to ask this, but it's in the comments a lot. So I'm going to throw it out there. Feel free to say pass. I don't want to touch the topic, but people want your thoughts on the Chris Jones holdout. If you don't want to touch it, I've got a different question to end.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, football is a business. Do we need Chris Jones? I would definitely say hell yeah. I mean, he's the Patrick Mahomes of the defense, and and I've met him several times, and I think he's a great player. I understand his side. I understand the Chiefs' side. Hopefully, they can get together and get something worked out. Hell, Chris is one of my favorite players. I mean, I want him to be a Chief, but there's a business side and there's a football side, and you got to find something in between that works, and hopefully with my faith in Brett Veach and the Chiefs organization, I think we're going to make it work.
Excellent.
Hey,
Well,
Mr. Mahomes, you a real one, and you like your chicken fried hard. I already know. You a real one.
Oxtails, and chitlins and all that.
There you go.
Hey,
Hey, Pat, thank you very much for joining the Arrowhead Allies. We'd love to have you back later on throughout the season. Please give Trisha our best and tell her we're looking forward to seeing you guys maybe at a Chiefs game this year. And, man, I love you, Pat. Thank you for joining Arrowhead Allies.
Hey, man, anytime, man. Y'all just let me know. I'm here. I'm ready to go. I won't be at as many games this year. I'm, the old boy, he ought to have his feet wet now. He ought to know what he's doing. So, I got some other things that's coming through the pipe right now that I'm trying to, tighten some ends up on. And I might even be calling up on y'all to come on the podcast and help me share some stuff and keep me up to date with all the football stuff. But thank y'all once again.
Anytime. Thanks, Pat.
Sure, absolutely. It was an honor.
Definitely.
thank you.
Doubt.
Take care. That was cool.
There we go. That was Pat Mahomes. Thanks, everyone, for joining and asking the questions, being in the comments. A lot of you enjoyed a lot of those answers, as did I, because as Pat Mahomes got more comfortable in the role, in the situation, man, he's an open book, and we were the benefactors of what was, to me, a tremendously entertaining and fun and downright candid interview from Silky P, our guy, Pat Mahomes. Guys, great questions. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, that was some good stuff, man. I appreciate y'all, especially you, Shaggy. Thank you for that, my brother. Yeah, but right now, you can tell though, he's like, man, I gotta attend to something. He gotta go roll him a loud pack or something right now, man. I think we might have put too much on him.
No, hey,
Pat's
you have to, you have to appreciate Pat because you can see a lot of what rubbed off onto his son, man. Just being able to be a free spirit and being very respectful and somebody that's very passionate about what they do. So it was just a great time having him. And I had to ask him about the smoking on that Joe Burrow because the Chiefs
smoking on that Joe Burrow.
Chiefs trying to do it again. So I hope he's ready for more of that.
That was good. Yeah, he's class act, great guy. I'm humbled and honored to call him a friend. He was on. His mom, his late Mama Cindy, God bless her, rest her soul. She was a fan of the Shaggy Shane show, and when she came to the home opener in 2018, Patrick's first game, she was really honored. She was really happy to see me, and I'm just a loudmouth on YouTube, but I'm honored and humbled to call them all friends. We miss Mama Cindy, but Johnny Mahomes, I met him, Patrick's grandpa, Pat's dad. They're beautiful people. They're down to earth, good people. They're because you tend to see when you meet somebody famous or somebody out there, you think that when you don't know them, when you meet them, they're going to have this allure about them that they're just their time is precious. But man, Pat's came and he was on the Shaggy Shane show from 2017 through the last couple of years, and he's just a really good guy. And as you could see, he keeps it real, and he's like that on podcasts as well as people. Thank you for bringing him on, Noah and Clint, and thank you, Brian and Michael. And he's an awesome dude.
You set it up, my friend, and of course we welcome him with open arms. And like you said, hopefully we can have him on in the future. Got to give a shout out to Matthew. Everyone in the comments, you really showed out for this interview, helped us carry it along, getting your thoughts in there. Got to give a shout out to Matthew, my favorite crew out here. Thank you all at Arrowhead Allies. We love it. We thank you.
Big love.
I am one.
Yes, you are one.
No, we have to set this up. All right, we got to set it up somehow in Kansas City. We got to get Pat number 1, Pat number 2, get them at a basketball court and see who wins best out of 10.
It'd be like straight up. We could. That'd be like He Got Game, right?
Nah, man, don't do that.
Jesus Shuttlesworth, no fans.
Because he said I got him on the basketball court. He can't touch me there. This is the best way that he can prove it in front of the world. We bring it to him. Arrowhead Allies, Starcade Media. That would be epic.
Brett Veach, I'm sure, would give his permission for such.
Yeah, he won't, but they can do it at if they do it, they can do it right there on 18th and Vine by the Urban Youth Academy. Open court right there.
Make it happen. Because they don't got to play one-on-one. It's just shots. Best out of 10, make some more shots.
I think it's in his contract for real that he can't play basketball.
Correct.
Seriously.
It is.
I think
There's a basketball court in his home. So
There is.
well, guys, we talked a little bit to Pat about Chris Jones. We got to get to this. Is he not going to be here till week 8? Some fan asked him, when are you going to show up? You've been playing too much on Twitter and social media, and he's probably playing with us again. I don't think he actually means week 8, but if he does, this could be a disaster. I think maybe we need to trade him if he's serious about this week 8 thing. And then Arrowhead Live came on. That'd be a hefty tab, and Chris Jones said, hey, I can afford it.
Well, last week I was pretty emotional, and rightfully so. I know Brian said I need to take my emotions out of it. Don't be a fan. So I looked at it glass half empty last week. I'm going to look at it glass half full because my good buddy Clay Wilner from Red Tribe Cinema, he said, hold on, let's not get too excited. Emmitt Smith missed the first 2 games of the 1993 season, and they still won the Super Bowl. So that's going to be my approach. Every week that Chris Jones doesn't play, the first 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to hope and pray that somehow it gets worked out before week 8. What do you think, Brian?
It's all posturing, bro. It's all like I said last week, it's a facade. Don't believe the smoke. We don't know what's finna happen. I don't see him being the chief after 23, though. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What about a trade scenario? I've got one here. Chris Jones
give me
Jonathan Allen, and we get some picks from the Commanders. I don't know what it would be. Maybe you just get a second. They're pretty even players in a way. Obviously, you're going to get extra picks because Chris Jones is better than Jonathan Allen, but Jonathan Allen can hold his own, still Pro Bowl player, still replacing it with a high-level defensive tackle. He's not Chris Jones. But his cap hit's going to be less. Maybe you get some picks back as well, a second and a fourth, something second and fifth, something around that range. What's anybody's thoughts about this trade scenario if we do have to unfortunately trade Chris Jones?
Allen and Payne, either one of them are dominant, so you got me there. I would need an extra more picks though.
Oh, for sure. Down there, you get picks as well.
Yeah, it can't be a straight up head to head.
No.
You know, for me, the only player I would do that with Chris Jones is the other 95 in green and white, Quentin Williams. I would definitely do. I would trade straight up for him if I could. But that ain't happening.
He just signed a big deal.
Jonathan Allen though. Yeah, Jonathan Allen's a monster.
But for some reason, I just have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to somehow figure out how to make, this thing happen. Because like Pat said, he's a Patrick Mahomes of the defense. So I think that they realize that they're going to need this guy. I think Chris, where else would he want to play? Do you want to go to the Commanders and have to play over there? No, because you're not playing with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. So I think that, whether it's, right before the season starts, maybe within 2 or 3 weeks into the season, I think the Chiefs are going to figure it out. And Chris Jones loves the game of football. He doesn't want to sit out too long. So I think that the Chiefs are going to find a way to make it happen. But if you had to make a trade, I think that a trade for Allen will be the best bet if you can get some draft picks.
Yeah, I'm open-minded.
I got to digest that. I think if it happened, if that trade specifically happened, we would have to get a first-round draft pick in return.
You might be able to. You might be able to squeeze it out of them. A little tough, but I think you might be able to squeeze one out.
I don't know. That's a high draft pick, Washington.
That's also true.
Yeah. You're gonna have to throw in a 1. Whoever, if God forbid we trade Chris Jones, we got to get a 1 in return somewhere. We can't do it for peanuts like Marcus Peters, like I talked about last week.
Yeah.
We got to get a number 1 draft pick for Chris Jones. If God forbid, that's the road we're going down.
Yeah, it's been a strange road. It's not something that I foresaw getting to this point, and it's sort of playing out like a movie, like a Michael Bay film, if you will, as we look back to last week. And there's some funny gamesmanship, and let me just tell you, I'm not saying that we're some great friends with Chris Jones, but we had a chance to spend some time with him in Miami, and he's just one of those people that you grow up with. It's just he's the funny guy that you just no matter what, he's got a joke for it. He's hilarious. Mm-hmm. He's affable. He's everything he says. It's almost like nothing serious around Chris Jones. But he's a very nice, affable person. But you don't know, you just kind of you just know, everybody knows that guy. Everyone had that friend growing up that you're just that's the guy that we let handle pretty much everything. Because nothing bad can happen around someone with a sense of humor like that. And that's Chris. And I think that's, like Brian said, posturing, that's all part of this. And his personality kind of plays into it, honestly.
Well, you had a chance when you were talking to Chris Jones in April down in Miami. At that time, he was still plugging for maybe possibly bring DeAndre Hopkins on board. So it seems like up until a week and a half ago, Chris Jones was thinking he was still letting everybody know, don't worry, Kansas City, I'm a Chief for life, yada, yada. Then the last couple of weeks, he's been kind of putting things out there like he might not be. But you know what's odd? Or I won't say odd, but something that we don't know. We don't know what the Chiefs offered. They're pretty good at keeping this quiet. We don't know what the Chiefs offered. We don't hear any inside scoops. You don't hear Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter saying, here's what the Chiefs offered Chris Jones. He won't take this. It's just only thing we hear. And props to the Chiefs brass for keeping this under lock and key. We don't know what they offer, what they're saying or anything. So until we hear something from Rappaport or Schefter or what have you, we're going to have to speculate on what's going on.
Yeah, we got this comment here back from Matthew. Veach has already said he'll not jeopardize the Super Bowl caliber team and organization for one player. I'm afraid he's gone soon, but hope not, just like Brian was saying.
That's what it comes down to, fellas. We like that. I just that's how I think. That's where my mind goes. If you're not Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey's he's on a discount. Patrick's is on a discount.
Yeah.
Patrick's on a discount. Everybody is taking a discount. And so Chris Jones, he might be at this time in his career, like I said last week. Your leverage of that is at an all-time high.
Yep.
With us winning the Super Bowl, us beating the Bengals because of him having a big part of that, and we all saw it. His leverage ain't gonna be higher, man. He got to strike while the iron is hot. Period.
And Veach might be looking at it the same way Pat Sr. is looking at it, like, hey, as long as the defense can get enough stops, we have 15, we should be able to beat anybody. So maybe he's like, man, I cannot force this money because we have talent there that I want to keep, and I do want to build a defense around you, but I cannot, mess up the future of this team because I'm paying you all this money, just like Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs decided to make a move. So it's going to be interesting these next I think after this preseason game this week is when we're really going to see what's going to happen with Chris Jones.
I think what makes it worse is that we're all knowledgeable, and there's a lot of Chiefs fans who, like I said last week, you look down the road, okay, they're going to pay Tyreek. They probably won't have to be able to pay Chris Jones. Well, if you don't pay Tyreek, then you're going to definitely pay Chris Jones. Okay, you're not going to pay Chris Jones. Okay, so now we're looking down the line next year. Are you going to extend Creed Humphrey? What if Creed Humphrey wants the top center money? What if Trey Smith wants the top right guard money? What if L'Jarius Sneed wants the top cornerback money? What if Nick Bolton wants the top linebacker money? There's going to be a time. Brett Veach is great. We trust in Veach. We love Veach, yada, yada. But there's going to be time when he's going to have to give somebody a massive contract that they deserve and that they earned. I feel like Chris Jones has earned that. But if it's not going to be Chris, and if we're going to trade him for, this hypotheticals that Noah brought up, when and who is going to get, Brett Veach gave this guy what he felt it was worth, and that all made sense. That is my point. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's going to be just the cream of the crop. And if they don't want top of the market, Chris Jones wants top of the market. Tyreek Hill wanted top of the market. I think that's going to be a problem for the Chiefs if it's not Patrick Mahomes. And I'm Travis Kelce. I mean, I don't think he is going to demand top of the market. He's going to play out his contract and probably be gone here within the next 3-4 years. He's wanting to get to do the Hollywood thing, into the entertainment. So I think that's kind of where we stand, that they're just not going to pay top of the market. There's going to have to be a meeting of the minds. Chris is going to have to come down a little bit. Even if it's a few $1 million a year, I think the Chiefs might be able to meet him there. But this $30 million, the Chiefs are just like, we can't do it. So we've got to figure out a way to meet in the middle, Chris, or we'll see you when we see you, and then it's goodbye. So
we just have to look at I think we just have to look at what the Patriots did, with the run with Tom Brady. They were always like, hey, we can't overpay people. If like Brian said, if our quarterback is taking a cut and then he's the guy, you're going to have to find a way to do the same. If not, we're going to try to build through, the draft and find a player to replace you and so forth. So I think that, Chris Jones just has to figure out what means more to him. Is it really the check? Is it like, man, I want every dollar I can get? Or is it like, you know what? I want to get as much money as I can from this deal, stay here and continue to win Super Bowls to where maybe I can get different brand deals that, make up the money I'm missing out on the contract.
Oh,
Yeah,
look, the
good point
preseason
there.
game.
Yes, and now we've got highlights from the preseason game. You see Justin Ross here, Mahomes jumping out of bounds, trying to get it back to MVS. I blame MVS for that. Justin Watson with a nice touchdown here. Mahomes right over the defender into the arms of Justin Watson. And then Shane Buechele connecting with Rashee Rice here down the sideline.
And can I give a shout out?
Bolden, right, Michael?
Yeah, can I give a shout out, man? Just watching that game, watching it a couple times. Watching Rashee Rice, the guy looks a lot like Anquan Bolden to me. For some reason, he just gives that. I remember Bolden being a Florida State football fan, seeing Bolden in college, then coming to the Cardinals. I'm just like, man, Ray Rice looks so similar to him with his play style. So I'm like, if Veach was able to get a guy like Anquan Bolden in the second round, that guy is amazing.
Well, this was all out dominance, guys. And I'll tell you, my takeaway from this was that the Arizona Cardinals uniforms are horrible.
You tripping.
God, they look terrible on television. When did they change their color to freaking maroon? What team was this out here? This is the worst uniform I've seen in the NFL. This is terrible.
You tripping, Quinn.
This is unbelievable. Look at this.
They look good. They look like the
Cardinals. This?
It's the Cardinals. They look good.
It's a different color than the Cardinal on their helmet. This is trash. 5 trash cans out of 5.
Oh yeah, you big tripping, man. You just gotta swag it out, dog. Cardinals look good. They took all those unnecessary stripes off. Cardinals look good.
They all will. Someone better agree with me in here. I'm leaving right now.
I mean, I don't like the Cardinals jerseys. I don't know if I get it animated. I don't know if my voice can reach those levels.
True.
But I will join you in saying that I'm not a fan of the Cardinals jersey.
I'm not a fan. It looks like I don't care for the Arizona across the front.
Yeah, it's so plain.
Yeah, now that's too big. It's too big. That's Nike kind of doing what they do. But if they shrink that
on there,
now that was one of my critiques. If they should have put the Arizona flag on the sleeve or somewhere, they could have did that. They could have got freaky with it like that or something. But again, it's way better than what they had. Those are great uniforms.
Like the no striping is bothering me. Just all this maroon.
Sucks. Tom Hood agrees with
Cardinal
us.
Red. It is Cardinal
What is
red,
Cardinal
bro.
Red? Did you see that?
It's a different color red.
Bayside Tigers, who had maroon, at least had striping. The Bayside Tigers had better jerseys than the Arizona.
They did. You saw like the Chiefs standing next to Cardinals players like after the game taking pictures and stuff. And it's like, it just shows you how powerful and popping and perfect that the Chiefs red actually is.
The Chiefs uniforms are perfect, but you're comparing anything to the Chiefs, in my opinion, especially uniform wise. There's no comparison. Cardinals look good though.
Well, guys, is Justin Jefferson? I think we can all agree Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, he was number 2 in the top 100, so I guess.
Okay, is Sky Moore as talented or more talented than Justin Jefferson?
No.
Okay.
Close. Cut it out, man.
Let's find out who is more talented than Justin Jefferson. Let's hear from Ryan Clark.
George Pickens is much more talented than Justin Jefferson.
Really?
Justin Jefferson understands everything about playing the position, stems, leverage. He can catch the football in all kinds of awkward positions. He's a savant of the position. He had to learn to play the position because he was a 2-star, right? So he had to understand it. You had a brother who was the starting quarterback at LSU. George Pickens is an absolute freakazoid. A monster, a beast. Like ridiculously talented. He can do every single thing you ask him, and he's mean as hell.
I'm not going to go back and forth with you all on this wide receiver thing all season like we did last year. Look, man, these wide receivers are great for Patrick and what we're about to do in this offense. Who says that George Pickens or who says that DK Metcalf could thrive in this offense? That is a completely different form of a receiver that haven't even been implemented in this offense. Juju was the only thing closest to them, except he's a lot slower. But you saw he was one and done. Who said it's no guarantee that
who
those
led
guys,
the Chiefs in receiving last year?
It's no guarantee that those guys will flourish in this offense. No doubt about it. They're great wide receivers, great athletes. But man, look, we got 2 Super Bowls, fam. Y'all still talking about the wide receivers.
Well, we got to talk about something. I said it last week, guys. If we want to sit here and talk about and throw a party and drink beer off Noah's Lombardi trophies every week, we can do that. And I would love to do it because I live in the glory days. I've said it and we'll say it all year. If we're going to provide any entertainment for this audience, there's going to be some minutia. There's going to be some getting into the weeds. We're going to have some disagreements. Otherwise, what the freak is this?
No,
I'm dead ass serious right now.
Hey, Noah, Clint, you guys are right. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys this. You guys are right. Of course, George Pickens is better than Sky Moore. So I just don't think that. I don't think that the fit was perfect. That's why the Chiefs passed up on him. They got Justin Ross, who's very George Pickens-like, that they're hoping can emerge and be something. But you guys got it right. You know, as long as Sky struggle, I'm pretty sure we're going to hear it, Brian, all year from these two.
We're not even into year 2 yet. It's just a kind of a entertaining thing to see because George is a guy that I followed since 2020, fellas, at the University of Georgia. When I sat in the press box, talked to Georgia media members, and I said, you know, we had McCole Hardman at the time, Georgia player, and I said, would you take McCole Hardman for George Pickens right now, a current NFL player? And he looked at me like I was, you know, like on fire, and he said, absolutely not. That's how much of a freak and how much I followed George Pickens since the 2020 season. In 2019, he led the team with 700 receiving yards as a true freshman at Georgia. The guy is a freakazoid, Ryan Clark. And I think it's just interesting to look at other players compared to this is not necessarily an indictment that we hate Sky Moore, that his career is a failure. We'll just see how things play out. Like I said, Brian, we got to talk about something.
Well, yes, the Chiefs can't get everything right, man.
No one does. We know. No one does.
One thing I want to touch on is the first 2 games that we haven't touched on yet is I'm impressed with the tackles, Donovan Smith and Juwan Taylor. Yes. Patrick Mahomes even said himself at the post game, he said, I wanted to get hit this preseason. He knows he's not going to play this Saturday's game. He says, I want to get hit, but I didn't get hit. He said, even the play, Patrick Mahomes made an effort to say this, even the touchdown pass that I myself got out of the pocket, I got out of the pocket just to make something happen. So he was quick to say that. He didn't, because in years past, he didn't say, well, things were breaking down, I had to get out of the pocket. He made it known, man, my line was doing great. I wanted to get out of the pocket myself and to make that play and that touchdown to Justin Watson. I'm impressed with Donovan Smith and Juwan Taylor. I don't know if we're going to see them at all Saturday. Probably not. We might see Wanya Morris, but I'm high on where the offensive tackles position is going into week 1, September 7th at Arrowhead Stadium. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah. Can't wait for this. We have one more preseason game, and we thought 4 was too many. It feels like 3 is too many, and we're ready to get through this and get this thing going for real. We've seen what these guys can do. The Chiefs came inspired. They came ready to go. You got to like this quarterback room that we got going on, this Blaine Gabbert and Shane Buechele kind of battling out, looking really good. And I'm just ready for whatever comes. There's some roster moves that we're going to be talking about next week because that's going to be, I think, cut day is going to be next Tuesday. So, man, we're going to have a lot to talk about then. But for the heart of this team, for the talent on this team, I'm excited to do it, to start doing some predictions and start really breaking this down and what this season's going to be. Because when I look at it, I always say, what's going to stop you from winning a Super Bowl? That's where we are, guys. That's how good things are here in Kansas City. What can stop you from winning a Super Bowl? We will digest that and much more as we get closer to week 1. But right now we're dealing with what we have in front of us. And I think right now it's just excitement. It really is. Regardless of how animated we get on some of these things, you're excited to defend a Super Bowl championship, fellas.
Yeah, it's like being a Lakers fan in the early 2000s. It was like you were trying to find anything you can pick apart from this team because you're like, damn it, we have Kobe and Shaq. We should win the championship. So, it's going to be that, the entire run with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But you got to love this, man. Brody Croyer was one time our starting quarterback, guys. So anytime I can talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I love it.
Amen.
Fair enough.
Brody so was Tyler Palco.
We love Brody, though.
Alex Smith. And I mean, the list just keeps going on and on. We could talk about it forever.
Guys, I guess we're going to call it. I'll tell you, next week, it is cut day. We're going to have so much. We appreciate everyone for joining us. And for Pat Mahomes, once again, be sure to check him out. Follow him on socials. He's very interactive with fans and gosh, people like Shane, make sure that people know how to get a hold of Silky P, man. Silky P on Instagram. He's just a great person to get to know. He's right there with you. He'll talk to you. And
Mahomes on Twitter. So
yes, yeah, good stuff, man. It's been great, guys. We're getting real now. We're getting real. This is it.
It's real.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was a great show. Thanks again for having Pat on. Next Tuesday is going to be special. Let's enjoy Saturday at noon. It's been 100. Whoever came up with an idea, hey, I got a great idea. Let's have a noon preseason game in Kansas City in late August. Yeah, that's a great idea. 100 degrees all week. The Chiefs should probably dress all in white so make the Browns wear their dark jerseys.
No.
I don't know. That's just speculation. Brian doesn't like it.
Why
Anyway,
not?
guys.
That's like the 06 opener against the Bengals.
Yeah.
It didn't go so well.
Or the whole 1980 season where we wore white at home.
Yes.
Terrible.
With me, weren't you, Brian? I love it.
Well, next up, guys, it's going to be a great show. We got cut down days. We got this next preseason game we're going to be talking about. And then the week following that will be our prediction shows. We get ready for Thursday night football. The season opener, Chiefs, Lions, raise that banner and go.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Chiefs.